Good morning. How's everybody doing? All right, my title of my presentation is going to be I'm TIM trained. Am I safe now? How many of you have had TIM training? Raise your hand. It's an interactive presentation here. So if you don't answer me and I ask you a question, I'll stare at you, you stare at me. It gets real weird real quick. So it's easier to just answer my questions and be done. So 3 points for improved safety. So we're going to go through this. Hopefully I guess turning it on really help. All right, here's my background. I joined the fire service in 1982. I'm from Pennsylvania, ran with the Lebanon City Fire Department, ran with North Cornwall Township, Neversink Fire Company for years, since 1982. As an EMT, hazmat team member, 911 operator. Sounds like I can't hold a job, but I can hold a job. But I believe in traffic incident management training. I just retired last year from the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission after 25 years as the person in charge of their emergency services. So I manage the 125 fire companies, 67 ambulances, and 22 tow companies across the Turnpike system. I believe in traffic incident management. I believe in responder safety. We're all in this together. We need to work as firefighters, as EMS, we need to work with all the other responder disciplines, right? We can't do this by ourselves. We can't operate in a silo. We need to work with everybody else so that we have success. This was a move over, slow down event that we did at the Manheim Auto Auction in Manheim, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, after we got the move over law enhanced in Pennsylvania. Our fine for the first offense for a move over violation in Pennsylvania is $500 plus court costs. We have to have some teeth in our laws in order to help us out. Okay? This is the national unified goal of traffic incident management. If you have not seen this, this is what we're focused on. Responder safety. Everybody in the room here goes home. As well as motor safety. Safe, quick clearance. What does that mean? Do we do that right now? When we have a crash or we have an incident on the roadway, do we get it off the roadway as quickly as possible so that we're not a target? How many of you are responders that go out on the roadway? How many of you feel like you're a target when you're out there on the roadway? Is the public paying attention to you? Have people gotten smarter in the past 20 years with their driving? No, or anything else a lot of times, right? Prompt, reliable, interoperable communications. As responders out at incident scenes, can we talk to the other responders? Can we talk to them by radio? But more importantly, if we're standing in the same emergency response scene, do we talk to them there? How many times have you passed by a crash scene, an emergency incident, where all the firefighters are huddled together, all the EMS people are huddled together, all the police are huddled together? Nobody's talking to the tow truck operator, right? Because they're weird. I say this because I have a lot of towing friends. But you know, how many times have you passed by a scene where the responders just have their back to traffic or they're not paying attention? Is that a problem? Yeah, we have to stay alert at the scene because motorists are trying to kill us. Okay, we're all in this together. These are just some incident scenes, I put in here. And they don't have to be a big incident scene. Responders get killed at single vehicle crashes. The last 2 Pennsylvania responders that were killed on rural roadways, not on highways. Okay, they were killed on minor vehicle crashes in which they were providing traffic control, but a motorist decided they didn't want to wait because their time was more important than the life of an emergency responder. Is that a problem we have? Since the beginning of the year, when I got here Sunday night, I Googled how many fire trucks, how many EMS vehicles have been struck so far in 2024. And I came up with 57 different news stories on fire trucks being struck and ambulances being struck. What's the cost to replace a fire truck? $1 million? $2 million, depending on what you have? Does your citizens, your community, your legislative leaders know how much it costs to replace a piece of equipment? What happens if your equipment gets hit and you no longer have that until you get a replacement? Do people understand that it takes sometimes 2, 3, 4 years to get a replacement piece of fire apparatus? How many times do we respond to routine calls? Disabled vehicle on the roadway, not a big deal for a police officer, right? How How many of you have an escape route when you go out to an emergency scene? Where are you going to go when something goes bad? Police officer moves his cruiser to protect the scene, but he doesn't do an effective block. Why do we block at emergency scenes? What's on the other side of that wall? Again, how close was he to lose his life on a disabled vehicle?
Toward them. The SUV zoomed by as Gonzalez jumped out of the way and over the barrier. The alleged drunk driver was arrested and charged with driving while intoxicated and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. The people from the stranded car were not hurt. Gonzalez is out of the hospital but suffered a serious back injury. Precinct 5 says he may need surgery. In Houston, David Gonzalez, KHOU 11 News.
Think about your community. Think about your response area. Where do you go if something happens and you're working on a roadway like that? Are you able to have an escape route? If you go over that Jersey barrier, what's on the other side of that? Are you jumping down onto a road below? Is that going to kill you? Again, we should be practicing every time we step off the apparatus where we could go for safety. How about this scene here? Do we spend too much time at emergency scenes waiting for stuff? Who thinks we do? I think we do. We're waiting for tow trucks. We're waiting for things that don't happen. This is a brush fire down in Texas. Not a big deal, right? They're working on the side of the roadway. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, so there's no sense of urgency to rush to get done. Get ready to clear the scene.
Fire's out. You show all units clear.
How close were they to losing their life? Over a brush fire, a routine call, something we respond to hundreds of times a day. How about here, it's tow truck operator. Does he have an escape route? Where's he going to go when something happens? The trooper said he was going to get traffic stopped on the ramp, but he didn't have an extra car. How many times do we not have enough protection at our roadway incidents that we rely on somebody else to protect us? Running out in that lane the only time traffic wasn't coming, again. Slow down, move over. How many times are you going out and telling your community, telling your members, telling your family members how important it is to slow down in emergency scenes? How many times are you working at an incident like this where people are just buzzing by you and not caring? How about a situation like this where we're out there just trying to stand up because it's cold, it's windy, you're tired, and somebody plows through your emergency scene? This gentleman here, John Langazzetti, is a friend of mine. This happened up on 581 in Camp Hill. This is a scene where they had protection in place, roadway safety in place. That truck that went up the ramp hit and took the cab of his tow truck off. What that doesn't show is that the motorist from that vehicle was in the cab of his truck. She suffered critical injuries. She did recover, but she suffered critical injuries. So after this incident happened, John and John's boss called me up and said, we need to do something about the move over law in Pennsylvania. And we just got the move over law enhanced, so that we weren't going to go back in and revisit that. But I said, what's your other option? What are you going to do? And their option was, we're going to put that many lights on our tow truck, we're going to blind everybody that comes past our scene. Is that a good approach? Do we have too many lights at our emergency scenes now? Are we blinding people now? So I went to their shop that night, and I took some lights with me, and I put them with the magnets, I put them on the tow truck, and I said, can you see the person standing next to the tow truck, or are the lights too bright? And you couldn't see them, and they were washed out. So again, more lights are not better. I am the Deputy Director of Training for the Emergency Responder Safety Institute. How many of you have heard of ResponderSafety.com? If you have not heard of that website, write it down, memorize it, go to that website for free training. How much does the free training cost? Free. You could take the free training, and with a coupon, your friend could get trained for free too. You don't need a coupon. All that training on there is for free. So why not take advantage of it? How about a situation like this? Hopefully it works? How many times are we working in an incident scene like this where we're not having any early warning out? We're not doing what we should be doing at the scene. Is that a problem? Is that safe? This fire company contacts me at least once a month and says, the roadway is really not safe out there. Well, I can't make the roadway safer, but I could make you safer if you just listen to some of the things that we need you to do out of the scene. It's the same fire company. How many of you wear a high-vis safety garment, high-vis vest? How many of you wear it properly with it? And how many of you have your members wear it properly? It has a zipper on and Velcro on for a reason, right? Why do we want to make sure that that's it? We want to make sure that you're visible all the time. And I get people responding to me and saying, well, that's not going to keep you alive. If it gives you 8 to 10 seconds more visibility, is that possibly going to keep you alive? How many of you as firefighters want to go into a fire without your proper tools, without a hose, without SCBA that's only half full? We need to go in with all our tools. We need to go in and make sure that we're doing everything properly every time. Hopefully this will start playing. How about this? Is this safe? Is this smart? Do you trust the public enough to go out there and step in front of them on the roadway?
What it is ain't exactly clear.
We can't take chances that the public's going to know what we want them to do. Why are you risking your life? We risk our life enough every day to save people. We can't be doing stuff like this. So, other than me, how many of you are D drivers? Raise your hand. If you're a D driver, if you do any of these things, drive drunk, drugged, drowsy, distracted, just plain dumb, I only see a couple hands up, and the lights are in my eyes, but hang on.
Sit on a throne of lies.
You sit on a throne of lies. All of us are D drivers, right? All of us do some of this. Drug doesn't have to be illegal drugs. How about cold and flu medicine? How about stuff that makes you loopy? Do we do that? Drowsy? I'm going to drive drowsy on the way home because Steve made me eat a big steak last night, and I have the meat sweats. And couldn't sleep last night. All I was thinking was that steak was going to come out of my refrigerator and chase me around the room. So, distracted. How many of you talk on the phone in the car? Right? Whether it's hands-free or not. Have we ever got from point A to point B and thought, how do we get there? Because we don't remember that? How many of you work from home and now we have these online meetings? How many of you have taken online meetings in the car? I have a good friend that was killed within this past year who is the head of our IT department for the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission. He was on a Teams call with his staff when he hit the back of a tractor trailer because he did not see it stopped, and he was killed. Just routine, driving to work like he does every day. Deliberate, dangerous, or just plain. Federal Highway took out just plain dumb. I put just plain dumb in because dumb's dumb. Saw a girl a couple years ago driving down the roadway eating a bowl of spaghetti in the car. I'm a fat man that likes spaghetti. I was like, hey, I'm intrigued. But we can't do that, okay? We can't, our society anymore, who eats fast food in the car? Look at me, I don't miss a meal, right? Now we have the adult slushies, and now we encourage drunk driving because we have these adult slushies. And in Pennsylvania, they put this little seal over the top of the cup so you can't jam that straw in there until you get home. Has anybody ever left that parking lot without jamming a key through that so that they can start drinking alcohol while they're driving? Who has technology in their car that it's so much technology now that I have no idea what half the buttons do? Is that a problem for us?
You sit on a
3 key points that I want to talk about. Be the voice. What do I mean? We need traffic incident management and roadway safety training in the United States. We need it in Maryland. We need it in your community. We need it every day. We need to shout that message out there. And we need to talk to the public about not being a D driver and about slow down, move over. Good enough is the enemy of your best. In 6th grade, 1976, I went to Milton Hershey School in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I handed a paper into my history teacher and I said, is this good enough? Teacher handed it back to me and he said, is this the best you could do? And I was offended. I was a smart kid. Well, I wasn't, but I was a kid. But I was adorable, just like I am now. So, I thought I could get by on my looks. I couldn't. But he handed it back to me and he said this statement to me: good enough is the enemy of your best. And that statement has stuck with me the rest of my life. If I do something, I don't want to do it just good enough. I want to do it our best. Right? So that's what we need to concentrate. Everything that we do, we don't want it to be good enough. We want it to do our best. Even if it takes a little bit longer to do it, and we need to make stuff happen. There's no shortcuts to safety. How many of you take shortcuts to safety? How many of you have a honey-do list? Right? So when my wife would say, go out there and clean the gutters, I'll get the little ladder out and I'll try to do it, and I'll stand on my tippy toes and I'll use a tool and try to get the stuff out of the gutter, because I don't want to have to go in the garage and try to take down the big ladder and do all that stuff. And once I fall down and hit my head, what am I going to do? I'm going to get the big ladder out and I'm going to do it the right way. We need to do things the right way and stop taking shortcuts. Be the voice. What do I mean by that? I use social media a lot to be the voice. I hate social media. I think social media is going to be the death of our country. But I use social media because it's a free way to get my message out there. I post safety messages every day on my social media accounts. Why do I do that? Because I want to get the message out. I want to hammer people home, and I want people to have awareness. You know, we work with news agencies. We work with everybody else to try to get that message out there. Do you know what the move over law is in your state? And if you don't know what the move over law is, can we educate anybody in the move over law? How many of you within the past month have talked to somebody about the move over law in your state or shared what the move over law is? That's a problem, right? Do people know what the move over law is? We want people to know to move over for us from the side of the roadway. This is what Maryland's law says. If you're approaching any stopped vehicle on the side of the roadway with warning signs, you must move over. If you don't move over, you can be cited. In Maryland, the fine is $110. Is that a deterrent to anybody to not move over? No. It's a little bit, but what's most people going to think? $110? Not a real big deal. What is it in Delaware, Steve? I think it's $25. Is $25 going to discourage anybody from not killing our responders? In Pennsylvania, we just had the move over law passed and enhanced. Maryland, they've had a move over law since 2010. Pennsylvania, we've had a move over law, I think, since 2008. We just enhanced it to increase the penalty from $250 for the first offense to $500 for the second offense. Since 2018, there have been close to 20,000 citations written for move over law violations in Pennsylvania, with about a 90% guilty disposition. We need to make sure that people understand those numbers. We need to make sure our legislators know how important it is for you to go out there and do your job day in and day out so that we're not hit.
Here's an important message for everyone who drives a motor vehicle. Every day, an average of 2 emergency responders are struck by vehicles while working on the road. Some don't survive. Others are critically injured and can no longer perform their life-saving jobs. In 2019, 44 emergency responders were struck and killed while working to help others on the road. Sadly, it looks like that number will be even higher in 2020. Firefighters, police officers, paramedics, tow truck operators, and every responder needs your help, and they need it now. Do your part to keep everyone safe on the road. When you see flashing lights of any color on the road ahead of you, slow down, move over, and give them room to work. It's the law in Pennsylvania. Police are cracking down, and penalties for violators are on the rise. This message is brought to you by PennTime and the Beasley Media Group. Learn more about Pennsylvania traffic incident management at penntime.com.
So I have a very good friend, John DeWeese, and John is a very, very nice guy, very, very passionate guy. But John is one of those guys that just doesn't shut up. And sometimes you need that person that just doesn't shut up to get your message out there. John reached out to Beasley Media and said, hey, we need your help to share a move over message. Beasley Media has 66 radio stations across the United States, and they share their message. And we were able to get Beasley Media to record free PSAs for us to put out a move over message. This is an older one from when I worked at the Turnpike and ran a statewide traffic incident management program, but we also had them record that message with NJTIM, with other things. Reach out to those TV markets, the radio markets that you have, and tell them, I need your help. Share the message to them. I recorded so far 6 public affairs shows for them. Those are those that air Sunday morning at 7 o'clock that very few people listen. But I'll tell you what, since we aired those programs, I've had people come up to say, hey, I heard you on the radio. I heard you talking about safety. I heard you talking about this. I've got Deputy Chief Gert Allerton from the Philadelphia Fire Department to help share that message with me on that. I had Commissioner Thiel do a show with me that we shared that safety message, and Philadelphia Fire Department buys in on traffic incident management now. And that's what we need. You need to have that relationship and have people buy in. This is the local police department. And again, simple message. They just didn't say anything. They just shared that at the end of the day, we all want to go home to our families. This got 55,000 views on social media. Okay? Are we going to change everybody's mind by posting something on Facebook or social media? We're not. But if we change one person's mind and they drive better because of that, that's one responder that may not get hit, that may not be injured, that may not be killed. We try to film as much as possible staged scenes so that we can share the message about slow down, move over. So this was a roadway that opened up on the Pennsylvania Turnpike between Interstate 70 and the Pittsburgh Airport. So we spent 6 hours out there shooting slow down, move over content. I'm the guy driving the red Jeep because it was a very hot, humid day. We all have our roles. My role was driving up and down, slowing down and moving over, drinking iced tea and air conditioning. They look very hot out there, but we all have our roles. Tell your story. How many times can we get out there? How many of you do a fire prevention program in October? How many of you share a message about slow down, move over in that message? Do we need to share that message? What's the percentage of our calls that we're responding to for a roadway incident? 60, 70, 80%? But yet we get so focused on the fire side of things that we don't worry about the roadway safety side of things. Even those incidents where we're responding to a structure fire or an automatic fire alarm are still traffic incident management incidents, right? Because we have to park properly, we have to stage properly, we have to make sure that we have the resources getting in there. This was filmed on Saturday. On my way down here, I stopped at Delaware City Fire Department up in Delaware County. We used a closed section of 113, and we did a photo shoot for the National Volunteer Fire Council focused on EMS and traffic incident management. So those are two photos from that scene there. I was very grateful that the fire company helped us out, and we had photographers that were able to share that message, and hopefully they'll be happy with the photos that we got. So some stats: 42,000 fatalities. Every year the fatality numbers are going up. Why? We have more people on the roadway, and people are driving more and more distracted. So 6.7 million police reported crashes per year, 8 responders at each crash. That's 54 million targets on the roadway. Do you feel like you're a target when you're out there on the roadway?